Today I'm going to show you how to roll a slab. So you're going to get a big chunk of clay. You're going to tap it down a little bit by hand to flatten it out. It makes it easier to start your rolling process. You're going to be working on a canvas. The canvas is going to keep it from sticking to the table. So you can see now I kind of have it stretched out. It's about an inch thick just from patting it down. As you're rolling, you're going to have some guides, whether they're sticks or markers. You want it to be the thickness. So I've made these kind of recycled dowels, and they will help kind of keep it the right thickness. So you're going to roll one direction, then you can kind of pivot and stretch it out. Depending if you want a round shape or a rectangular shape, you're just going to keep flipping. And then when it gets to be close to the dowel thickness, you're going to use those and it will stop and make it even. You won't get any thin spots if you use the dowel. So as you do that, it just stops the roller from actually squishing it more. So when you don't see any more movement of your clay, then it is ready to be the size that you need. So now it is even thickness, and you can see it all along here. It's even all the way across. So if you are going to make a slab, then you can cut a pattern. So if you're making a square or a rectangle or any type of shape, you're going to make a paper pattern, and that way you can kind of follow it. If your pattern has straight edges, it's really helpful to use a ruler. There are clay specific rulers. They might be a little dirty, might have to wipe them off, but you're going to hold down your ruler and then you're going to cut. There are all sorts of cutting tools. My preference is to use some sort of knife, and when I cut all the way through the scrap, so the edges all the way across, so that it releases. So when I put my ruler down, I hold it with my non-dominant hand and support it. The ruler helps me to go nice and straight. Now that side I was doing on a weird angle, so I can always kind of hold it in place and run it again. And as I use my tools, it's always a habit for me to kind of clean it off. No matter what kind of tool I'm using, if I see clay stuck to it, I pull the clay off that tool. So now, a lot of people are tempted to dig from right here or from the sides. The best thing to do when you want to release a slab is to first get rid of the scrap, and you can kind of just lift it and it will release from the fabric. But to make sure that this edge doesn't get fingerprints, you're going to take that piece, flip it over onto your hand, and peel the fabric off of it. Now nothing has been altered and it's perfectly straight. Now if I were to be making some sort of cylinder, I could now shape it like this. Okay, so if I had my slip nearby or something like that, I could then score and score those edges, and then I could slip right here, and with the slip in between I could then squish it together and get my cylinder. So if you're making a mug or a container or a totem or any kind of cylindrical shape, you always start out with a slab. Now if that were scored and slipped together, you're also going to blend the seam so it's completely gone. Not only on the outside, but on the inside as well. And the best thing to blend is with a clean finger and a little bit of water, or the top floating water on the slip cup, but never just slip. So, because that'll make like a frosting texture. So even on the top and bottom and the inside and the outside, you're going to blend that seam so you can't see it any longer. You don't want to push a lot of pressure. You don't want it to look thinner. You want it to look like it doesn't have a seam at all. So to make the top or bottom of this, I'm going to wedge my clay. Remember, you can't just take clay like this and ball it back up because it has air pockets. So you're always welcome to go get more fresh clay out of the bag. You don't have to wedge, but when you're older, in classes like high school and college, you'll be expected to wedge. And so what I'm doing is I'm making this wedge shape as I roll it around, and it's kind of sticking to my table. You can also wedge on the fabric. In fact, anything that you do, if you want to avoid this kind of thing, wedge or use fabric placemats. So now, if I wanted to make a bottom to this cylindrical slab, I'm going to start it again by patting it down so it's about an inch thick. And then if I want it to be the same width as my cylinder before, I grab my sticks. And if I want it wider, I change direction. And I can even use my sticks on the wider part. The next step then is to take your actual cylinder and a pointy stick, or even pencils work great. We've got lots of sticks and pointy tools in the clay tools, and you will draw that in so that it exactly matches the project that you're making it for. If you were to make 2 of them, I could have slid it over, 1, 2, and made a top and bottom for future reference. But I'm just making 1 because it's going to be some sort of mug. And when you cut, if you remove all of your tools off of your fabric and you cut something round, you're going to turn the fabric. So as you turn the fabric, you can cut all the way around. Now I see a lot of kids making this mistake. Now they're trying to pull the scrap off and trying to get the inside out. But if you take and cut a little cut to the edge, just like before, it'll help you peel those scraps away. And then you're going to peel your piece off of the fabric upside down. And now I can take this, it fits perfectly, and I can score the bottom edge with my cutting tool or my texture maker, and I can score the outer edge, and I'm going around the sides, and I'm going to just slip here and here, pressing it on and blending. So you, once again, there's a seam there. You want to make sure it's completely gone. Clean finger, a little bit of water, and you can make that look completely invisible. So that's how you make a cylinder with a bottom. So this basic shape can be a container, it can be bigger, it can be smaller, it can be a structure to hold other things. So here is a basic cylinder from a slab, but you also saw how to make a slab. All right, thank you for listening.